with an end of the war in Lebanon hanging in the balance. U.S. Special Envoy Amos Hochstein extended his visit to Beirut on Thursday, saying he is trying to finalize ceasefire details. He is now scheduled to arrive in Israel tonight. After meetings in the Lebanese capital on Tuesday, he said there is a real opportunity to end the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. More from ILTV's Steve Leibovitz.
U.S. Envoy Amos Hochstein met Speaker Nabi Berri and discussed the Lebanese response to Washington's ceasefire proposal. Hezbollah reportedly has reservations, and it's unclear whether an agreement is within reach or still far apart. Hochstein indicated that gaps between the sides have been significantly narrowed.
Today we've had just now very constructive talks with Speaker Berri, and we have continued to narrow the gaps through the discussions over the last few weeks, and specifically today we continued to significantly narrow the gaps. This is a moment of decision-making. I'm here in Beirut to facilitate that decision, but it's ultimately the decision of the parties to reach a conclusion to this conflict. It is now within our grasp.
The ceasefire deal reportedly requires Hezbollah to withdraw north beyond the Litani, the deployment of Lebanese forces, and an international monitoring group. There are reported objections to Israeli insistence on the right to respond to Hezbollah violations. The State Department said that President Biden is fully involved to ensure the ceasefire deal is reached.
We're going to continue to talk to the parties to try to get an agreement. There are a number of issues. The United States, yeah. Amos, the special envoy, is the lead negotiator. But then the president has been involved at various times. The secretary has been involved at various times, and it'll continue to be an across the government focus to try and reach a diplomatic resolution, because it's critical to getting people back to their homes on both sides of the blue line.
Before sending Hochstein to Beirut, the Biden administration had indicated he would not make the trip unless it was to finalize the deal. It remains to be seen whether that is truly the case. Meanwhile, the war in Lebanon continues. Airstrikes continue against Hezbollah targets in central and southern Beirut. There were also strikes in Nabatea and numerous locations in South Lebanon. IDF ground forces have now advanced up to 6 kilometers into South Lebanon. The IDF's 98th Division has begun operations in new areas. The division, along with the Paratrooper Brigade and the 7th Armored Brigade, is working to locate and destroy Hezbollah infrastructure that threatens the Kiryat Shmona area. Dozens of military targets and warehouses were attacked. An IDF reservist was killed in the fighting. The slain soldier was named as Sergeant First Class Reserve Omer Moshe Geldor, age 30, of the Golani Brigade's logistic unit from Jerusalem.
And a ceasefire may or may not come, but in the meantime, incoming Hezbollah rocket and UAV fire is continuing to target northern Israel. This morning, the Air Force conducted a 30-minute search of 3 UAVs that set off sirens in the western Galilee, the upper Galilee, and Haifa Bay. Interception attempts were made, but crashes were detected in the western Galilee without causing injuries. Over the past 24 hours, dozens of rockets targeted northern Israel, and several injuries were reported, mostly from shattering glass after impacts. Carmiel took the brunt of the impacts. And joining us now with more on the potential for a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon is Israel-Lebanon analyst and public diplomacy expert joining us from the Israeli Citizen Spokesman's office, Jonathan El-Khoury. Jonathan, great to have you on.
Thank you very much for having me, Lital.
So let's start with Amos Hochstein's visit in Beirut and now coming to Jerusalem. He recently said that he would not come back to the Middle East unless it were to sign a deal. Do you think his presence now indicates that a deal truly is imminent?
Yeah, well, Amos Hochstein said that he wants to see a positive side within Lebanon for a ceasefire, for something that will be able to have some sort of a deal between Israel and Hezbollah. And that's something that shows me that at the end of the day, the pressure that is being held on Lebanon is really working, because it says that Lebanon really wants to have a ceasefire in order to end this. But at the end of the day, there are still few obstacles to that from the Hezbollah side. Hezbollah and now the representative of Hezbollah in the parliament, Nabi Berri, that is basically the head of the parliament and the one that is representing both Hezbollah and the Lebanese government, said that they will not agree for Israel to have